Hey friend, let's talk about this little adventures in the astrals, okay? So this one was really interesting, and it actually is the inspiration for me putting together an afterlife course. So that is definitely in the making. I am still sketching out the course, and then when I complete the course, of course, I'm going to have people go through it, and then it will be live for people to purchase. At a later date, I'm working on it like the rest of this year. I want to make sure it's really solid. But I'm actually working on doing a lot of different courses. So it'd be cool for me at some point, probably like to do like a website, and then you can get your subliminals, you can get your courses, your guided meditations. At some point in the near future, not super soon, because I am doing personal services like tarot and readings and dream interpretations and, subliminals and things like that. But at some point, I'm going to be doing also more like exclusive working with people, and I'm going to do it seasonally. So probably about 20 good people working together with a high level course system. It'll include hypnosis sessions. It'll include group talk and group teaching. It's going to be really, really fun. So there's a lot of things that I have in the works with quantum Acacias, and then also with Acacias Ascension. So I'm also working on a second channel, which is going to focus more on the subliminals and guided meditations and things like that. So I'm going to separate that from quantum Acacias. So quantum Acacias, I'm going to end up doing like these adventures in the astrals, and then tarot, moon readings. And then we are going to be launching next year the podcast. It might be a little earlier, but I want some people to find quantum Acacias, and then as we get the subscribers up and things like that, we will launch the podcast. Okay, we're talking about the supernatural. We'll be talking about the dreams, astral projecting, spiritual life lessons, spiritual parenting. It's going to be really fun. So anyways, make sure that you subscribe, stay up to date on latest things that we're doing over here. So today we're going to be talking about this really cool dream, and I still have not found the actual dream. And sorry, like I live in Arizona. Sometimes it's not as loud like on the actual recording, but I live in Arizona, and that is a big thing, a big, huge difference living, even because we don't live directly in Phoenix. We live in one of the surrounding cities. And even living in the surrounding cities, like there are always airplanes flying over. I did not have that experience in New Orleans, and I don't think I remember anybody like mentioning that. But since we've gotten here, and we've been here for like 4 years, 4 years now, there's always a plane flying. Well, what's more accurate, because the airport, right? So the planes are always flying, but you always hear every hour, every 30 minutes, planes. Now, actually, I'm thinking about that, and that might be like the neighbor, and somebody might be cutting grass, but anyways, whatever. Okay, anyways, so let's get into this, child. Okay, so in this adventure in the astral, so a little bit of backstory. So I don't remember if it was like the day before or a few days before, but there was this kind of theme in the air of, okay, what am I going to do with hypnosis? Like I want to expand on it. I have a lot of connections to things outside of QHHT, which I am also building out my own hypnosis technique. And I was just thinking, like, how can I expand this, And so this dream was an answer to that question. So it was definitely within the same week of me asking this. And typically I will ask a question out loud. It used to be like just before bed, but now I'll just ask it out loud. And then usually within dream time, I will get an answer for it. Okay. And I feel like I'm going to have to make sure that I put the Sheol dream here, because that must have been an answer to a question too. Okay. So anyways, during this dream, I was in a home, and it was a very nice home. I'm pretty sure it was like a mansion or something like that. Okay. And so it's very cool because this dream was very similar to how hypnosis sessions and guided meditations work, especially when you are viewing a future life. Now, future life can get tricky, right? Because I personally believe that when we're experiencing a future life, or we're remote viewing the future, we are seeing like a semi-collapsed reality of the future, like an astral counterpart to it. Like, so for example, like the year 3000, right? And I'm thinking about that because I saw this wild song called Pimpin' in the year 3000. And when I saw that, I was like, Ray, we have got to like manifest for like tens of thousands of years in the future. Like, they are already energetically creating a timeline. Now, it's not exactly stabilized into reality, I don't think, but the more energy and gravity and electromagnetic energy that you give to a timeline is the closer that some people will start to co-create it. They might start to dream about it and things like that. So I'm like, we have to be thinking about things like in year 4,000, 10,000. I'm like, he's already projecting year 3,000 for Pimpin'. That means that like probably the women that are connected to him right now, he's already setting it up for incarnation after incarnation, that you come back as a woman working for him in his prostitution thing. Do you get what I'm saying? So I think, oh yeah, 727. Those are my numbers for truth serum, okay? So that's a truth, okay? So I think that the future, you can start co-creating it, okay? So in this dream, this is kind of what was going on. So I started to recognize that this dream had something to do with the future when I was in it, because it was almost like I was merging with my memories of myself in the future. It's very trippy when you experience it, but it's literally like you can tell that these are memories like from the future, like a future version of yourself, which I think is like outside of time, and you are like entangling yourself with this future version and co-creating memories, but it also is creating memories based on other things that are in the future that are frequency matches to you. So some of those memories you might not have just yet, but as you merge with that version, then you start to pull in those memories, which solidifies you in the future. So anyway, so I'm in the mansion, and I am walking down this hallway, and I'm going to a room, and I recognize that this is a room that I go to a lot of the time. This is a room that I'm starting to have like the memories that there is an older white gentleman who I come to see him at his mansion, and we are doing like consistent QHHT sessions. And so it was really, really fun because I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this, which was interesting because I had all of these memories that I had been working with him for, it felt like maybe 6 months or something like that, like not quite a year, but maybe like 6 months or so. And then I was working with him with QHHT, but I also developed this additional segment of it where we were doing afterlife sessions. So we were doing afterlife to see like this version of him, right, that is going to pass away in the future, kind of retroactively actively looking back and seeing what things he would have wanted to do differently in this life, and if there was any karmic atonement or anything that he left behind, so that in this reality we could work on those things. And so we're working with each other like once or twice a week, and we would figure out, what karmic lessons or what things he needed to leave behind to make sure things were okay when he passed away. And then once we were kind of wrapping that up to a good place, we ended up focusing on his future incarnation. So the probable next body that he was going to incarnate in. I mean, it was so fun. It was so exciting, okay? And I remember just the feeling of like, wow, like we're really doing this. And I felt like it felt like I had been doing this, but this was like on a consistent level, and we were getting like immediate feedback on the things that we were saying, right? Because to a certain extent, I think it was easier to work with this older gentleman because he was just older, and it didn't seem like he was super into spirituality and metaphysics like that, really. But it seemed like he had had some type of experience where he was open to the, how would I say that, like the kind of uncertainty of the proof of this, right? Because he would have to transition and then get to the next life to kind of validate what we were doing. Does that make sense? But he was very open to the process, and there were a lot of things that were happening in his reality as we were doing this that were shifting to kind of provide a level of quote unquote proof to it. Now, the interesting thing is, now I can't exactly remember when I had this dream, but I know that like not that long after I had this dream, and I started telling my husband and a friend about it, that actually one of my friends ended up getting a job working with these, with an older couple, and she was helping them. And it had like a, not exactly the same feel, but like a similar feel to it. And I was like, oh, that's interesting, because that was very much like the dream that I had, was helping out this older gentleman and helping him with his kind of end of life care. And hers was much more like, helping out with, everyday life and things like that. And mine was like helping out with end of life, like after life stuff, and then future life things. So it was really fun. And when I had the dream, I was like, oh, that's such a good idea, because I've, kind of always experienced mediumship things. And then I had my dark night of the soul, which I'll probably talk about at some point in 2013. And so I've always kind of been around the afterlife. And then I took up an interest in like physical mediumship and the kind of seance side of life. Like I haven't sat in one yet, but I was looking at the skull experiment, and that's something that I would love to do, especially APPORTs and things like that. Because I already have so many crazy spiritual and metaphysical experiences. I love to do it with like a group of people. So I've thought about going to the spiritualist church. I think that they do things like that. So I haven't gone to my first one yet, but I'll definitely keep y'all updated when I do. And so anyway, so I was like, oh, this is a really interesting idea. And I knew that I was going to come back to that dream at some point, but I wasn't exactly sure like when. So it was really interesting. It was very profound, but it wasn't like a priority at that moment. I was kind of waiting for it to come back around at some point, because a lot of the dreams, they do come back around at some point. Some a lot quicker than others, and then some take, a longer a longer amount of time. So fast forward to sometime after that. Again, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure it was less than a year. I ended up having this other dream. Now, this was so cool, okay? And the really cool part about it is that I have dreams come back around a lot of the time. And I love when they come back around with like so much detail in them, okay? So this is really fun. So I ended up in this dream and I was walking up to this like house. It was actually, I think it started off where it was like almost like I was walking up, like hiking up like a cliff or something. I had like a backpack and things like that, like hiker stuff. And I'm like, where am I going? You know, and then typically in the astrals, the dream realm, you're, you know, somewhere in a scene, which is very much like hypnosis. You're in a scene and things are already kind of playing out. And again, you're kind of soaking into the atmosphere. And then as you're moving along it, you start to gain the memories of what's going on in this place. So I'm like, okay, cool. I'm just going to keep hiking because obviously I'm hiking to go somewhere. So there must be something going on. So I'm just going to like keep on moving forward. So as I'm hiking, I am seeing, and it's so funny because like I'm looking at the URL of this video that I was watching and it has FAQ in there, like frequently asked questions. And asking questions in dreams and even in hypnosis are like so essential to getting more information. Like if you're in a dream and it's like weird or it's strange or, you know, like horror kind of stuff or whatever, you can really dispel a lot of that by just like asking a question like, why are you showing me this? Or do you know what I'm saying? And then you start to get the information behind what's going on. So I just noticed it said FAQ. Okay. So anyways, and it's also like a fact, right? Like that's a fact. Anyway, so I'm hacking up this place and I realized that I am like in a team of 3 other people. Okay. So I'm in a team with these 2 gentlemen and a lady. Okay. So we're hiking up this thing and we're like kind of on the side of, I don't even know what to call this. I don't even know what to call it, but it was kind of like a cliff, but it was like a short cliff. So there was like kind of hiking up this kind of sort of mountain. It wasn't a huge mountain, like maybe like a mound, we'll say, like a mound, okay? And then this mound, I guess it eroded in certain parts. So there was like this cliff, okay? So we're getting up this mountain and we're on the side of the cliff. And then we know that we have to go climb up this little cliff. It was a small cliff. Climb up this little cliff to get to a house that's supposed to be on the top of this mound, okay? So we get up there, and so it's like there's 3 of us that are on the grounds, okay? So there's one gentleman on the grounds, there's me, there's another gentleman on the grounds who's kind of leading it. The other gentleman, he was doing something. I can't remember exactly what he was doing, but I feel like he was kind of like the bronze, you know, of the group. Like in case in case we needed like security or something, that he was there to like take care of that. Like he was like the physical person, I guess. And then I was like the timeline person, which we'll get to that in a second. And then the other gentleman was like the like leader of this operation. And then the other woman, she was somewhere else. Like, I remember like kind of hearing her in the air or something like that. And she was kind of guiding us from a different point of view somewhere. Okay. So we get to the cliff, we climb up the cliff and we see the house. Okay. Now, the cool thing is that we immediately see this like modern-ish Victorian style home. And it's like a big, huge mansion. Like it's very nicely built. It's definitely... Oh, okay, I hear a child. Okay, I'm just pausing for a second to see if they're going to go back to sleep or... I think so. Okay. So anyway, so we definitely see that it's like modern. So like 1800s, maybe like 1700s, like at the earliest, but definitely I would say 1800s. It was like popping in the 1800s. But it was like an abandoned mansion, okay? Now, the interesting thing is that I'm not sure exactly where it was because it looked almost like European Isles. Okay, my bad. I had to pause. Okay, so European Isles, you know, like islands and stuff like that. So it was like a lone house by itself, like on this mound. There's a lot of green, I would say like pasture almost, because it wasn't really a street. I don't actually even remember how we got there, but it wasn't like a house on a street. It was like a house like somewhere on an aisle somewhere or something. I don't know if it was specifically an island, but it looked kind of like that. So anyways, we get there, and me and the leader are talking, and that's when I'm like, yeah, well, the guy from my other dream, I was like, yeah, this is the house, and then I'm going to open up the timeline, and then we will walk through it, and we'll be able to grab the heirloom, okay? So what was going, okay. So what was going on was that we had to actually physically touch ground at this place, at this house. And as we walked through the house, we could open up a timeline to go back in time. I know it's wild. To go back in time. It was really fun to go back in time. And we had to go back to a specific place, okay? So a specific place and time. So in the same house, but a particular day and time, okay? So basically what I was doing is I was getting there and I was starting to remember was that I had another dream at some point between that dream and this one that I didn't consciously remember, but in the astrals, I did remember this, where the gentleman, I feel like I want to call him Rick or something. So I'm going to just call him Rick. Okay, Rick. And so Rick came to me in a dream and was like telling me that a lot of the things that we did helped him prepare for the afterlife. So now that he had passed away and he was a spirit, we had established that he would come back and like come to me as a spirit and tell me like how it worked out. So he came back to me in a dream in the astrals that I didn't remember in waking life, like in waking life right now. It was during a night where I must have forgotten the whole thing. But in the astrals, I did remember having it, and he had come to tell me that it had worked and that he was going to be like merging with his next incarnation, like not, immediately, but relatively soon. But he was still kind of living life as Rick, just in the quote unquote astrals, okay? And so he was coming back because in the previous dream, he had left a lot of things to me just as a thank you. He didn't have children. He didn't have many people in life that, he trusted and things like that. So he ended up leaving a lot of things to me already, which is probably how I even had the money to actually even go to this place, honestly, because that's the only way, honestly. So anyways, in this dream, he was like, he wanted to give me something extra for helping him. And so he was like, I want you to put together a team and I will show you. There is a specific heirloom that his family had that they ended up losing at some point in time, like when they were living in this house. So it had to be like late 1800s or something like that. Anyways, they ended up having this heirloom and it was worth a lot. Now, they were a family that already had a lot of money, so losing this heirloom like didn't necessarily mean that much to them. And I think it was some type of, when I saw it, it was some type of handheld kind of representation of their family crest. And it was, it had special metal configurations or something like that. I forgot exactly what it was. I don't know if it was a clock, like a little pocket clock, like pocket watch or something like that. I feel like it was something like that. And maybe it also had like a auxiliary, like the kind of constellation thing that comes out. I feel like it was something like that. Like it was some really cool thing. But anyways, they had lost it at some point in time and nobody really cared to really find it. And so he was like, if you can go back in time to this day and time which was the last time he remembered seeing it, okay? He was like, you can go and grab that from the timeline and then send it back through time to our present time. It will end up in the house. And he was like, you can use that and like basically give it to a museum or something like that to get, he was like, it's definitely going to appraise for at least 5 million, if not more than that. And so he was like, you can get a team and you can split it with a team. So I was like, what? So that's what we were doing. Like this team of us, we went to this place. And so we literally went back in time. It was a particular day where there was a party, like the family was throwing this party. It kind of felt like one of those kind of interesting, like masquerade parties. But it was tame though. And so we had to go through. Now, what he also warned us about was that there was like a nephew or grandnephew or something who was about 7 or 8 years old. And he said that that child is very intuitive and perceptive. So if you go in and you grab it, because there was a particular room we had to get it from, and it was on the ground in that room. And that's the last time he remembered seeing it. Okay. He was like, if you see that child, you have to be very careful not to alert him because he's very intuitively perceptive. And so if he notices you, it could mess up something and you won't be able to actually grab it. And so I was like, ooh, this is interesting. It's like butterfly effect. Now, I'm not a person that believes that butterfly effect messes up, like you change something, it messes up everything. I don't believe that. And I'm actually working on a butterfly effect subliminal that's gonna help rewrite that belief system. But anyway, so we go back in time. We're in the midst of the party. Nobody can see us. We're like invisible to everyone there. It was a cool little party. It was a very nice house, very modern, but still Victorian. And we go into like the study. It's kind of like a study, formal living room kind of situation. Was it? It was kind of more of like a board, kind of like not a formal living room. It was I don't know. It was kind of like a boardroom kind of situation because there's like a long table that kind of looked like a formal dining table, but it looked like they did meetings in there or something like that. Anyways, we saw the pocket watch kind of heirloom thing, and we also saw the boy, and the boy was actually coming out of the room. So I was glad that he told us about that because his memory also remembered that the boy was actually in the room as he saw this on the ground. And so the boy was super perceptive. He did not actually see us with his eyes, but he was able to sense us, and not very strongly to where like he was like, oh my gosh, there's invisible people in the house, but enough where we had to really maneuver. We had to really maneuver him, and we grabbed that heirloom, and then we literally I don't remember exactly how we sent it through time to the present time. So we ended up back in the present time before we went through this time dimension, which is kind of trippy because we didn't actually go anywhere, but some type of way we did, and it was kind of interesting. But anyways, yeah, and so we sent it back through time, we got it there, and then we were going to split the profits from it. And I think it also had some type of lore around it that this was a pretty prominent family, and there was this lore of the heirloom that was missing and nobody could find it. Kind of like Flying Dutchman gold. So we could take it somewhere and sell it to someone, because the family, they weren't gonna necessarily want it back, so yeah, I thought that would be interesting to share. And it is the inspiration for me actually putting together this afterlife course. Ooh, 1013. So make sure you subscribe and things like that. The afterlife course is going to take a while, but I am putting it out there that I am putting together one along with a host of other courses. So it'll be really fun. So I'll be back with some more fun story times and things like that. Comment down below if you've had a similar experience. You can always email me if you want to ask a question or something like that, or if you would like a spiritual service. Okay, bye, friends.